Well, a troubling report emerged yesterday that Russia was looking to move its warplanes into our region with a request reportedly made to Indonesia. Indonesia, which would usually remain neutral on such matters, has told Richard Marles that it's not true. Joining us live now is the Foreign Minister, Penny Wong. Minister, good to see you this morning. Thanks for your time. So what conversations have you had with your counterpart and what assurances have you been given?
Good to be with you, Pete. Well, we'd learnt two things yesterday. One, through the outreach of Richard and myself, as well as our diplomats, it was confirmed by Indonesia that they are not contemplating any so-called Russian base or any Russian assets operating out of Indonesian territory. So that was made very clear to us. The second thing, though, that was confirmed is that Peter Dutton is really too aggro and too reckless to be Australia's Prime Minister, because the most concerning thing about yesterday was the fact that he was willing to fabricate a statement by the President of Indonesia in order to make a domestic political point. Now, I think that is an extraordinarily reckless thing for a man who wants to be Prime Minister to do.
When you say that Indonesia is not contemplating, does that mean a request was made or not by Russia?
Well, look, I'd make 2 points about that. The first is I'm obviously not going to go into all the discussions we have diplomatically. We don't do that through the media. But I would say this to you, Pete. It is the case that there has been a long-standing relationship between Indonesia and Russia. It's an historic relationship. They have had engagement. They've had engagement in terms of not just diplomatically, but also in terms of military equipment and hardware. So we're well aware of the historic relationship. But what is important is to ensure we have a relationship with Indonesia where we can engage on issues, including the sorts of things that you saw yesterday. That's what we've done. And it is so disappointing to see Mr Dutton prepared to be so reckless as to make a false statement about what was said by the President of Indonesia.
OK, like you pointed out, though, Indonesia recently became a member of BRICS, which involves China and Russia. So could this request have possibly been made as a result of that partnership that Indonesia has with those other nations?
Well, I think the relationship between Russia and Indonesia is well known, and the reasons for Indonesia joining BRICS have, according to President Prabowo, have been very much about trade and the economy. That's their stated position. But what matters is what we do. And what you've seen under this government, the Albanese Labor government, is a real focus on deepening relationships and trust with our region. We've worked very hard on those relationships, both at the Prime Minister's level and at my level, and also at the defence level. And you might recall that the Deputy Prime Minister and Minister for Defence flew to Indonesia to ensure we had agreement for a defence cooperation agreement between Australia and Indonesia. And that's the first time we've had that. And it's an example of our understanding that Australia's security requires us to work in our region. And this is something that is lost on Mr Dutton. You know, he's prepared to say something that is not true, to assert that it is out of President Prabowo's own mouth in pursuit of a political point. And I really think that shows he's simply too reckless and too risky to be Australia's Prime Minister.
Just elsewhere on the campaign this morning, Minister, the AMA has cast doubt on Labor's claim that all you need is a Medicare card to see a GP. It says while that might be true for the urgent care clinics, it can't be said for the regular GP because a gap fee will still be charged. So are you misleading the public?
Well, not at all. And I'd say first on the urgent care clinics, you know, they have been a real example of what happens when you have a government that wants to strengthen Medicare. You know, 1.3 million visits, many of them kids, all bulk billed. It's an example of what Medicare is and should be. But of course, you know, we understand we need to do more. The government needs to do more on bulk billing, which is why we have such a big package in place, such an increase in incentives and benefits to doctors that the Health Minister the Prime Minister and the Health Minister have outlined. But I'd make this point. You know, in this campaign, you have Labor pledging to do this, and you have Mr Dutton, the man who tried to end bulk billing I mean, he tried to end bulk billing as well as cutting money from Australia's hospitals, public hospitals. So I think the choice here and the contrast in this campaign is very clear.
Well, we'll have to leave it there, but Foreign Minister Penny Wong, thanks for your time.